Access to reliable water supply, more indigent houses, and road rehabilitation are just some of the projects being undertaken to drive transformation in rural communities. We have the latest information on work already done and those to come on stream. Stick around for the details. Plus, understanding wildlife and our responsibility to protect them. Hello and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. Those and so much more in today's broadcast.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, June 30, 2022. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clarke, says government has reached the threshold of central bank digital currency CBDC wallets or accounts that are eligible for the $2,500 incentive. In March, the minister announced that the first 100,000 Jamaicans establishing wallets after April 1 would receive the digital deposit from the government. The incentive was to encourage persons to use the CBDC, dubbed Jamaica Digital Exchange, JAMDEX, as an option to conduct transactions.
So the next phase is for merchants to be signed up. That's the key phase, right? To make sure merchants across in the communities who sell all manner of goods. And then it begins to take off and have more banks take it up.
Minister Clarke, who provided the update while responding to questions in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, reiterated that the CBDC was a no-fee account. In the meantime, the central bank has announced that the phased rollout of JAMDEX has progressed, with amendments to the Bank of Jamaica Act 2020 passed into law on June 14. The amendments designate the bank as the sole authority to issue CBDC, which is now legal tender. Currently, the National Commercial Bank offers JAMDEX through Link, its digital wallet. The BOJ says other wallet providers are expected to come on board for the distribution of JAMDEX later this year. Clients of the Students' Loan Bureau SLB will be able to make their loan payments online before the end of this year. Deputy Executive Director of the SLB, Charmaine Rose Anderson, says online payments will be facilitated via the Strategic Transformation of End Users Experience Portal, STEEP, also known as the Customer Portal. Mrs. Anderson says the SLB decided to institute the arrangement after analyzing the relevant data. Students will be able to make payments directly from the portal using their debit or credit card. The Deputy Executive Director says the interface for the payment option will be simple and similar to other existing portals. She says the system is being implemented in phases, adding that the SLB will also shortly be offering the option of making loan payments directly on its website. She adds that this new feature will enable persons to make loan payments on behalf of borrowers. The governance of public educational institutions is expected to be vastly improved with the launch of the online school board platform. The portal was officially launched by Minister of Education and Youth Favour Williams during a function at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on Wednesday. It can be accessed on the National Council on Education NCE's website at www.nce.org.jm. Minister Williams says the platform's establishment forms part of a comprehensive strategy to transform the governance of Jamaica's public educational institutions. She says it aims to provide support for school boards to conduct their important functions in a more timely and efficient manner. The platform will enable schools to upload their minutes, indicate major issues, and highlight other areas of concern. In turn, the Education Ministry will be able to proactively deal with matters of concern highlighted in the minutes, which previously would be submitted manually and not always in a timely manner. Still on education, the local church community is being invited to partner with the ministry in creating a character education program for schools. Portfolio Minister Favour Williams made the announcement during a service at the Power of Faith Ministries in Portmore on Wednesday. She says schools and the church play a critical role in developing the character of the youth.
Schools must place a priority on character development and the development of attributes that can help our student or children to be responsible, productive citizens in the future. We are prayerfully hopeful that through your Sunday schools, your youth groups, uniform groups, and other avenues. We will be able to see a halt in the anti-social behavior in our schools.
Minister Williams first announced the Character Education Program for schools in April 2021. The program will teach students good moral values such as honesty, responsibility, and accountability. Students will also sit exams under the program. And finally, the Montego Bay Marine Park Trust in St. James plans to establish Jamaica's first underwater sculpture park. The project, which will entail a village depicting Jamaican-type mermaid sculptures made of glass, is being jointly developed with Smilozone Waste Management Limited. Executive Director of the Marine Park, Hugh Shim, gave an update while addressing a JIS think tank at the agency's Montego Bay office earlier this week. He says the underwater attraction is aimed at further promoting awareness about the marine and coastal environment and act as a new tourism attraction in the city.
The sculpture park has two real purposes. One is that the sculptures become coral reefs eventually, or they become habitats for marine life. That's one. The other part is the tourism aspect. That would be a new attraction. There wouldn't be any other in Jamaica.
Mr. Shim is inviting individuals and organizations to be a part of the initiative, which is poised to enhance the health of the reef and ecosystem over the ensuing years. The Montego Bay Marine Park encompasses nearly 16 square kilometers of mixed-use marine protected area, beginning at the high tide mark on the land and extending to the 100-meter depth at sea. The eastern boundary is Tropical Beach adjacent to the Sangster International Airport, and the western boundary is Rum Bottle Bay, a point close to the Great River. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
We are in a race against time, to reverse the effects of climate change by one simple action which has positive and enduring effects. That's right, plant a tree, leave a lasting legacy. Join the My Tree Legacy promotion by planting a tree at your alma mater and share your work with us. Submit videos and pictures of you, your family, your friends, and colleagues planting trees. Every tree counts. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
Up next, a comprehensive outline of projects to be undertaken by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to drive transformation.
Renovation of markets, reconnecting streetlights, a national cleanup program, and renewed focus on rural development.
The system of local government has demonstrated that with adequate capital investment, it can both enhance, protect the lives of the people of Jamaica.
The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in fiscal year 2022-2023. In 2021, Chambers Pen in Western Hanover was selected as the pilot area for the Rural Development Program. Now, the Rural Water Supply Limited is gearing up to sign a contract for the expansion of the Chambers Pen water supply system.
Through this project, approximately 1,500 residents in 300 households, Madam Speaker, will benefit from water supply from over 52 million gallons of fresh water every day, and we are providing over 300 400-gallon black tanks to be delivered to each household in Chambers.
Other developments are planned.
We are constructing 4 indigent housing units within Chambers Pen at a cost of $28 million. This administration will be spending over $100 million to improve the road network in Chambers Pen. 300 houses in the community will be wired at a cost of $27 million. Madam Speaker. We're going to be spending, Madam Speaker, another $4 million to renovate the basic school and community center.
The Ministry of Education is providing support to rehabilitate the Chambers Pen Primary School at a cost of $20 million. RADA will also be providing assistance to farmers in the area to the tune of $2 million. The ministry will be spending $370 million this financial year on road patching and rehabilitation.
The Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has formulated a parochial road patching program that will start to address the needs that exist. We have already compiled a priority list of roads island-wide that are in need of urgent patching.
The Stonehenge and new roads in Westmoreland will be repaired. So too, a parochial road in the Lennox Big Woods area at a cost of $52 million.
We pay an average of $243 million on a monthly basis for streetlights. The reality remains, however, that not all the streetlights are working. The local authorities and the citizens who fall within these areas across the country deserve better.
So, the ministry has been meeting with the Jamaica Public Service Company to resolve the theft and other issues affecting the operation of streetlights across the country. While those consultations continue, residents are called upon to be vigilant to prevent the highways and byways from being plunged into darkness.
It is clear that these criminal acts require the police response. It is not the responsibility for the constabulary alone, Madam Speaker. All of us as Jamaicans, Madam Speaker, because somebody must do something, Madam Speaker. It is the taxpayers of this country. It is the taxpayers of this country, Madam Speaker, that has to foot these expenses, because the JPS somehow will have to recover the cost. We have heard the pleas of the vendors for better facility from which they can conduct business. We recognize them as important players in the economic life of the country.
Several markets are being repaired and rehabilitated.
The placement of early warning signs in areas well known to be vulnerable to flooding is a key component of the work of ADPEM. Benson Fording in Kingston will have the sign installed. Port Maria in St. Mary and Holly Bridge in Clarendon, as a small island developing state. The protection of people in coastal areas from tsunami is of great importance to ADPEM. Old Harbour has now been officially designated as a tsunami-ready community. UNESCO, Madam Speaker, has also moved accordingly to register Port Maria in St. Mary to become Jamaica's second tsunami-ready community. Since 2016, this administration has invested over $6 billion in the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
The Old Harbour Fire Station in St. Catherine was opened in April at a cost of $59 million.
The Most Honourable Prime Minister had the pleasure of opening the new regional headquarters of the Jamaica Fire Brigade for over $600 million. We're going to Port Maria for the opening of the Port Maria Fire Station. Then we're going to move to Yallas, Madam Speaker, for the opening of the Yallas Station. I'll be coming to Ulster Spring to break ground. Balaclava and St. Elizabeth will be the next stop. As a country, we need to have some civic pride.
Lamenting poor garbage disposal practices by many Jamaicans, the local government minister is calling for the restoration of public order in the society. He is to head a ministerial team organizing a national cleanup program for the country.
It is not just the disposal of garbage, Madam Speaker, that is creating a problem for the country. We're seeing where developers carrying out construction has taken all of our sidewalks, our bus stops. They deposit the sand, the gravel on the ground. The public cannot access the roadways, Madam Speaker. The sidewalks are taken.
At the same time, 50 new garbage collection trucks are to be purchased this year.
The task before us is not just to make Jamaica a whole, the place of choice to live, work, and raise family and do business, but to make this a reality for people within communities right across the country.
Understanding wildlife and our responsibility to protect them. That's coming up next.
There are increasing threats to Jamaica's biological resources, like our plants or animals, due to events like habitat degradation or pollution. And globally, cycles like animal poaching to fuel a thriving fashion industry continues to hover over the idea of sustainable life in the wild. While Jamaica and the rest of the world's ecological challenges of today need innovative solutions, understanding our wildlife, what to protect, the need to protect it, and those mobilized to protect it is one of the biggest starts.
The overall goal for wildlife conservation is really to try and preserve a particular species in its natural environment. So the species that are protected, how do we determine those? Well, Jamaica, again, as an island, has a lot of unique species. So that's one of the first things we look at. What are the things that are unique to Jamaica? What are the things that are endemic? So we're looking at endemic species, not just animals, but also plants. And we are trying to see how we can ensure that we don't lose those species. There are also species whose numbers are very small. They're not necessarily endemic. Some of them are more widespread, but their species in Jamaica are very small, and they may have a higher threat of exploitation. For example, persons are going to try and harvest them, and so we try to put some form of control onto the amount of harvest that is done. So in order to do that, we have to bring those species under the Wildlife Protection Act so we can better regulate these activities.
So how do we necessarily choose which animals fall under the country's Wildlife Protection Act?
Now, how do we choose these? Well, we look at what is native, what is endemic, and then we actually do surveys. We look at what the population numbers are like. We also signatory to several international treaties that actually tell us that certain species that we have on our island are actually endangered, critically endangered on a global scale. And so we have to play our part here in Jamaica to ensure that those species are not lost.
And then there is the issue of domesticated animals, those that are dependent on humans, because over time they have become genetically adopted to live alongside us. But more and more persons are stepping into the wild for new breeds to domesticate. But disturbing that pattern can have implications.
Domesticated animals are really animals that are very dependent on man and very used to habitualize to man. And so we talk about cats and dogs, some pigeons, for example, your rock pigeons, your everyday domestic pigeons. Those are domestic animals. Now, some of our wildlife persons would like to keep as pet. They are not domesticated animals. They are actually wild animals. Our parrots, for example, we have two endemic species of parrot, the yellow-billed parrot and the black-billed parrot, and persons would tend to want to keep those as pet. and they are actually protected because their population is low. First off, they're endemic. Their population is very low, and their population is also declining. And so we're trying to protect those species.
From around August to somewhere in September, our bird shooting season is a welcome activity. But even these licensed activities, the National Environment and Planning Agency NEPA is regulating how we protect our endemic species in the wild.
We have hunting season, that is something that is actually regulated. NEPA also declares what are known as game reserves. And game reserves are areas where we do not want any hunting activity to occur. Because annually we have annual game bird hunting season, and so we have game reserves to protect populations, especially breeding populations of these birds, so that they are not overexploited. So game reserves are areas where no one is allowed to hunt, and we actually created a law in such a way that all forest reserves that are managed by Forestry Department are actually, in effect, game reserves as well. So in that sense, NEPA does have a role in forest reserves in ensuring that no hunting occurs within forest reserves.
So, next time you roam our rugged landscape, or pass by the carpet of plants lining the roadways, the thick tangles of bushes, or observe the colony of birds or seemingly baleful mongoose, let's observe without disturbing those patterns of life.
I must urge all users of cyberspace, do not, for fear of being labeled a victim, refuse to report or follow through the process. Once you think that there is something wrong, seek advice, and the easiest way to get that advice is to come to Jamaica CERT or to go to the nearest police station. You will not be looked down upon for being a victim of cybercrime, because it is a matter of when for us all, not if.
To report a cybercrime, call or visit the website of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team or make a report to your nearest police station.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries recently outlined the Grow Smart, Eat Smart campaign, an initiative designed to strengthen food security and safeguard Jamaica from global threats. One aspect of the campaign is the drive for Jamaicans to grow what they eat. One of our local chefs will prepare a dish from produce from her garden.
So we're gonna start with passion fruit because it's passion fruit season. This is how our pulp is, and I'm just going to add it to our blender with my ginger that I already pre-washed and cut. Add that first. I tend to use a finer strainer, and the more passion you put in there, the more color you'll get, and the benefit again of eating and drinking what you grow is your health. And at this point now I'm going to add my sugar. And mix till you dissolve your sugar. So here you have it, homemade passion fruit juice.
Growing smart does not require a big farm. A small patch of land in your backyard, couple pots, and you can be on your way to harvesting produce for the dining table. Whatever and however much you manage to grow, put it to good use, cooking up healthy traditional or new dishes for the family to eat. It's what Cara has been doing.
My thing is make your hand, turn your hand, make fashion. So how it came about is my ackee mash up, boil it out. So I needed to use it. And I came up with Alfredo. And it is vegan, it's healthy. Every ingredient that I have in here, it's local. So I'm gonna start off with, or you can use any onion. I just think the red onion looks nice. So I'm going to just julienne this because I want it to stand out. Cut out the stem so then you get them loose. And then here I already pre-cut some tricolor bell peppers, or what we call sweet pepper, red, yellow and green. We have some string bean and some julienne carrots. Right here we have some local cherry tomatoes, which, you know, grows wild in some garden. Garlic, which, you know, is a must in our seasoning. And from here I have some dry seasoning. So I have Italian herb, I have some dried basil and my salt and pepper mix. And I'm also going to cut up a little scotch bonnet because, you know, Jamaica we say. This recipe takes about 30 minutes as long as you have everything prepped. The longest part is probably sauteing the vegetables. From here we move to our stove. So on medium heat, well, I have my pasta about to go into the boiling water. You can use any pasta you want. I'm just using what I have in the house today, which is some tagliatelle. From here, I'm going to turn on my skillet. You can use coconut oil if you feel, or olive oil, or whatever oil you have at home. And our oil is now hot. Cook your onions first, because you don't want raw onions. The next would be your carrots and your green beans, because they're raw. I didn't blanch them. So as you can see, the pasta is boiling. And then I'm going to add my garlic. Now this is an Alfredo, so I put a lot of garlic. At this point, I'm going to actually add my aromatics, which is I have some fresh thyme here. And you're developing your flavors, you're building. I'm going to also add my dry herbs, which is my Italian and basil. At this point, if you have extra ackee, I'll put a little bit in there. And you can use any vegetable you want. And then I'm also going to add my peppers at this point. And then I'm going to check my pasta, which is about al dente right now. And at this point, you can add your coconut milk from your coconut tree if you have any coconuts that are dry. I also have my scotchy. You can put as much or as less as you want. And from here, you can serve it in a bowl. You know, a deeper dish is probably better for pasta. Give it some height by twisting it. Sauce it up as much as you want. So I'm going to garnish it with my basil, my fresh basil. This is called chiffonade, where you ribbon it. You can also garnish with parsley, which I have growing at home as well. And clean up your plate, don't be like me. And there you have it, ackee pasta Alfredo.
And there are other dishes like this one that you can use ackee to create, such as curry ackee pasta, the traditional sawfish with ackee, and here is something you may not hear of often, ackee pockets with cocoa bread.
The message to our consumers who depend on us to provide wholesome and nutritious food to their household is not just to eat, but to eat smart.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Join us again tomorrow when we bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's both Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.